Welcome to the Candidate Forum hosted by several leagues of women voters in DuPage County. My name is Patty Lackman, and I am from the League of Women Voters of Central Kane County. Therefore, I will not be casting a vote for anyone participating in this forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for the community. The format tonight is a forum and not a debate. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for verifying the accuracy of the statements that candidates make in this forum. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst invited both candidates for DuPage County coroner to participate in this forum. Candidate Jeffrey Jacobson was the only one to accept and sign all required forms by the deadline. It should be noted that the League has an empty chair policy which prohibits a forum with only one candidate participating. So candidate Jacobson will give a 3-minute statement. The remaining candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum, among them being no voice, image, or other duplication of this forum may be used by any candidate's representatives or campaign in any campaign advertising. The League claims copyright ownership of any tapes or transcripts produced in this forum. Each candidate will have a 1-minute introductory statement. The order to start will be alphabetical by the candidate's last name, and questions will come from the League and the audience. Each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond. We have our timers, Mary and Dave, if you could wave. They will hold up their paddles for the candidates to let them know how much time they have left, and candidates will be allowed to finish their sentences, but not go on for another paragraph. Audience questions will be written on index cards and reviewed by League question reviewers for appropriateness and clarity. The audience will please refrain from clapping or commenting until the conclusion of the forum. This forum is being hosted by the League of Women Voters for you, the public, to hear what the candidates' positions are about issues that are important to you and your families. It's being recorded by Elmhurst TV with Joe and Jonathan, and it will be available or up by February 1st on the Elmhurst City YouTube channel, elmhursttv.com, and on the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst and other DuPage League websites, as well as individual candidates' pages on the IllinoisVoterGuide.org or vote411.org. Let's get started. Candidate Jacobson, 3 minutes.
So as I mentioned, I'm Jeff Jacobson running for DuPage Coroner. I want to first thank the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst for organizing this event and for everyone that's come out to listen to all the candidates, as well as those that are viewing this video at other times. So why am I running? I'm an attorney, not a medical professional. So the DuPage coroner, like all coroners in the state of Illinois, is not a medical position, but a legal position. So the statute sets forth, each coroner shall be a conservator of the peace in his county, and in the performance of his duties as such, shall have the same powers as the sheriff. And that's very important, because also the law says if the sheriff is unable to perform his duties, it's the coroner that takes over. So it's clearly a law enforcement position, despite what we see on TV and watch. For coroner, you need someone that has a professional demeanor, and you need someone that has the legal ability to interpret the laws and do the administrative work for the coroner. I'm going to read another statute for you where it says, where the office of the sheriff is vacant, the coroner of the county shall perform all the duties required by law to be performed by the sheriff and have the same powers until the sheriff is elected or appointed or qualified. So you need someone with legal experience. For those that don't know, I've been practicing law for over 30 years, both federal and state court, civil and criminal. I started out as a 7-11 for Cook County State's Attorney's Office, prosecuting there. I defend people now. I contribute a lot of time as pro bono. As far as the legal profession, there's also an administrative duty that's required. I'm general counsel for the DuPage County Forest Preserve, where I oversee their contracts, human resource issues, and legal issues. And the county is one of the top 5 government organizations in Illinois when you base it on budget. I've had over 30 years of legal profession. I've been operating my law firm for obviously over 30 years, dealing with the administrative, personnel, human resource. So I think I'd be a great candidate. If you want to find out more about me, because 3 minutes is not enough time, you can go to my website, Jacobson, the number 4, Jacobson4, DuPageCorner.com. There's also literature out here. Thank you for your time, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. We continue on with the candidates for DuPage Recorder. We have candidate Carrier and candidate Chaplin. And we will take their opening statements, which will be 1 minute long, in alphabetical order, and then I will switch so that we go back and forth, so everyone has the opportunity to be first and everyone has the opportunity to be last. So, candidate Carrier, your opening statement, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathleen Carrier, and I am the DuPage County Recorder seeking re-election. I have been a DuPage County resident my entire life, and I have served in various capacities as a public servant. I have been active as a precinct committee person since 2003. I'm the former chair of the Wayne Township Democratic Party. 30 seconds already. And I have done many things in the public sector as far as volunteerism, and I consider myself a public servant, not a lifelong politician. I am not I'm in this because I want to serve.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin.
Thank you to the trailblazing women of the League. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm Liz Chaplin, a candidate for Recorder, fueled with a passion for positive change and a vision to redefine the Recorder's office. I believe that elected officials should be catalysts for transformation and progress. I live in Downers Grove with my husband, Brian. We have 3 adult children, 1 son-in-law and a son-in-law-to-be. With nearly 12 years of experience on the county board and 8 on the Water Commission, I have unmatched knowledge and a deep understanding of how county government works. We'll transform the Recorder's office into a office of excellence, transparency, efficiency, and accessibility. And we'll do this by modernizing operations, creating a robust community outreach program, sharing and preserving our historical documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to our first question, and we'll start with candidate Chaplin. What would you do to improve how the Recorder's Office serves the citizens of DuPage County?
Well, first of all, I think community outreach is so important. That is the best way that we can serve our constituents. So there are a lot of forms and there are a lot of services that the Recorder provides, but we don't really know about it because there's not a lot of community outreach. Now, the Recorder will go to senior citizens and veterans events, but more, and that's commendable and I appreciate that. but everybody uses the recorder's office. So I think creating a robust social media program, getting out to organizations like realtor, real estate attorneys, title closers, start open communications with them, and reach out to groups and organizations throughout the county to let them know about the services that the recorder's office offers. Thank you.
Candidate Carrier, same question.
Thank you. As recorder, in my 3 years that I have been there, I have held 3 very successful joint Veterans Resource Fairs that were very well received by the veterans and their families. I have done one senior scam, and I have another planned for January 31st. That's a commercial. And I have done many things with regard to outreach as far as speaking with various organizations, and I will continue to do so. As far as forms, I have forms on my website. All you have to do is go to my landing page. It's 2 clicks in, whatever form you're looking for, which is limited by design because we are not a legal service. Some things you need to go talk to a lawyer, but we have forms available on our website. 2 clicks in. It's very easy to find.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier, second question. What happens if the recorder's office discovers or suspects fraudulent activity on a property?
We have a building full of state's attorneys that we work with, and if we suspect something, we will confer with our state's attorney. We cannot take any legal action. As I said, we are not a legal office. We will get the state's attorney involved. We will get the Wheaton Police. They have jurisdiction over that property. We get them involved. We did have an instance once at the beginning of 2023 where that very thing happened. We had to get the state's attorney involved and the police. We cannot take any direct action on any recording that comes in that we think is fraudulent. That's not, we are ministerial by design. We are not tasked with any legal action.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin, same question.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think Candidate Carrier answered the question. You know, you do have to go through the state's attorney's office if you do believe that if there is fraud on a property or a deed. And, you know, we do have our property alert fraud system. And that is with an outside vendor, Fiddler Technologies. But in visiting with Cook County, they have their property fraud alert in-house, which could save the county a lot of money, and then our residents are not going to an outside website and have to share their information with another outside website. So I think bringing our property fraud alert system local to our county, not having an outside service, would be something I'd look at to also help identify properties that may have some, what would be the word, some weird transactions going on them, but I think bringing that property alert system in-house would be a great way to help with property fraud. Thank you.
Following that same line, Candidate Chaplin, how can the recorder's office help prevent property fraud?
Well, I think a great way to help property owners prevent property fraud is to get out in the community and let them know that there's this service available. Actually, Tazewell County just won the award at the Illinois Recorders Association for the most property fraud alert signups in this state. They're a county of 130,000 people. They did this by putting the alert notifications, working with the treasurer, in the tax bills. And that is how the residents learned about the property fraud alert. I think that's a great initiative that the recorder can work with the treasurer. But I think really letting people know that it's out there and how that and the service is available to warn them of property fraud alert. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier, same question.
Thank you. My office does have property fraud alert available to property owners in DuPage County. It is a free service to property owners. All you have to do is sign up. It's very easy, very straightforward. Again, the recorder's office is ministerial by design. If you are going to create some type of property fraud division, the onus becomes that of the recorder, and the state's attorney would not be very happy with that. They cannot defend us if we make a mistake. That is why we have it's a national-wide program that runs this property fraud alert. We do not want to take that onus on ourselves because, again, we're ministerial, we are not legal. So the way it's set up now is working fine. When I took over the office, I took a program that was on life support, and I have more than doubled the signups by going out to different fairs, different community organizations, and talking to them about property fraud alert sign up.
Thank you. Next question, starting with candidate Carrier. Are expired mechanic liens a proper problem in this county?
Well, the only person it may be a problem for would be the person that placed the mechanic's lien. What many people don't realize is mechanic liens expire after 2 years. It is incumbent upon the person that placed the lien to come back in and place it again. It times out. And if the person, carpenter, whatever, isn't paying attention to when they place the liens and the lien times out, the property owner sells and there's no legal ramification for the person that placed the lien. So all we do is record it. We don't track them. That's not part of our purview.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin, same question.
Yes, to my knowledge, I'm not aware of any problems with expired property liens on, or mechanical liens on any properties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Chaplin. What does our recorder's office do best?
Well, I would think that with the e-recordings now, probably the e-recordings, I would say that is probably what they do best. I believe there's a lot of improvement that can be made in the recorder's office. The recorder keeps saying that they're bound by statute. So is the county board. But if we only did what the statute allowed us to do, the county board would not be addressing affordable housing, food insecurity, mental health. We wouldn't be doing any of that. The recorder has opportunities to let people know about the transfer upon death instrument, that they can team up with the Illinois Bar Association and go out to the public and let them know they can save thousands in estates planning. The recorder can let people know about how to remove discriminatory language from your deed. Right now, that's not being done. So, like I said, I think their recordings are fine, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier, same question.
Thank you. What candidate Chaplin was referring to with language on a deed, it's called an unlawful restricted covenant modification, and the fillable form and the statute are both on my website. As I said, it's 2 clicks in. It's self-explanatory. You can find the form and read the statute and know what you have to do to go about having that language modified. As far as what we do best, gosh, we do many things quite well. In fact, DuPage County is the shining beacon on the hill, and we're the gold standard bearer when it comes to recorder's offices. So we do many, many things quite well. Customer service, we have outstanding customer service, and we have people on a regular basis, phone calls, letters, and emails telling me how great my staff is. So I think we are doing it right. In fact, you'll hear a lot of talk about going to other counties. Counties come to us when they have questions. Thank you.
Candidate Carrier, what do you see as a typical day as the recorder?
Well, A typical day would be, we come in, we are up and operational by the time the doors open at 8 a.m. We have, we do our e-recording, we start with that, we get mail in, regular mail, and we take care of that. We do FedEx, but we also have our walk-in customers, and sometimes there's nothing typical about that. We have a wide variety of people that come in for a wide variety of reasons, including recording documents, you can record anything for a fee, of course. We have people that come in to research. In fact, as far as recording anything, I have a poem sitting on my desk from a mom that she wrote to her son that she recorded back in 1975. So you can record everything, and that will go down in perpetuity. So, yep.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin, same question.
Could you repeat it, please? Could you repeat the question, please?
What do you see as a typical day as the recorder?
Okay, so a typical day as a recorder, if I were to take over the office, would be a quick sit down with our employees, or, greeting my employees, making sure they have everything that they need to start the day. I would make sure that they have all the equipment, all of the everything that they need just to run the office. I really think communication between the clerk or the recorder and the employees is something that really needs to be improved out there. From what we understand, there's been no reviews of anybody in the last 3 years for the employees, so they don't really know where their job performance is or how they're doing on their job. So I really think, giving the employees the tools they need to run the office, and that the employees would really be running the office on the day-to-day basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Discuss the 3 specific goals you hope to achieve if elected to this position, starting with candidate Chaplin.
So the 3 specific goals that I would want to do as recorder, first of all, preserving our historical documents and making them available to the public. In Tazewell County, they were the first county to digitize all of their military documents, and then they made them available to the public. So you can go online and you can look at Civil War Book 1, and you can search by your last name. I would also like to have a web page that explains how to address those restrictive covenants. Cook County, when I went out there to visit, they have a whole web page on how to go about step by step by having that racist language removed from your covenant. And the second and the last thing that I would do from day one to be restore the morale and enthusiasm with the employees in the office.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier.
Just to clear up a misstatement, there have been reviews of my employees. I have a very good open door policy.
What I want you to do is talk about the 3 specific goals.
Okay. Yeah. I am in the process of having our microfilm and microfiche redone, because yes, we do still have microfilm and microfiche, and it starts to deteriorate. So I have a vendor that's coming in to restore the microfilm and microfiche, so we don't lose those images. As far as and I've purchased new equipment, so it looks like it's a document that was created yesterday. And we've done made some really great strides with that. And I have spoken with vendors regarding the digitizing, and it is, okay, thank you.
The next question has to do with the digitization of government records. Okay, I get an A for that, right? Has been behind the times throughout the state. How would you work on this problem within DuPage County and throughout the state?
Well, I think there's a misconception with digitizing the records. As soon as somebody comes into the office and records a document, it is digitized. That is part of the process. As far as digitizing things like military records, that's already been done. Those are the only records you cannot, it's not going to be part of the publicly searchable repository for a reason, which I don't have enough time to get into. As far as the old documents, you can digitize the books, but that's not the only thing. That's step one. There are other steps that have to go into it. It's not like you could go in, digitize the books, and then tomorrow you're going to see the image. It doesn't work that way. It's far more complicated.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin, same question.
Yes. So, as I said, I've been visiting recorders throughout the state. And digitizing the documents has candidate Carrier mentioned, you work with the vendor. And what the vendors do is they do digitize the historical documents, and then they make them available online. But also what some of these digitization vendors can do is also restore those documents and bring them up to almost original quality, and then put them in a safe place and preserve them for future generations. At the last one we were at, we heard how people are thumbing through our historical documents and touching them. I think it's a priority that we digitize those documents, make them available online, and then bring them up to the original quality and preserve them so that we have those documents for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Which three qualities are essential to anyone elected to this office? Candidate Chaplin.
I think the qualities of integrity, I think the qualities of hard work, and I think the quality of listening. I think those are three qualities that are very important for any elected official in any position. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier, same question.
I believe if, for anybody that wants to be in public office, we need to approach it as public servants, not career politicians. Once you lose sight of the fact that you are elected as a public servant, then it's time to go. Yes, integrity is of the utmost importance, and that's what I offer. Also, leadership. You need to have the ability to lead the office, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions that some people might not be happy with. But in order to run an office, you have to be fair. And especially in the recorder's office, we're apolitical, so you can't bring politics into it. You need to be able to make your decisions based on fact, not rumors, not gossip, not hearsay, but fact. When I make my decisions, I am very pragmatic about them. I don't knee-jerk. I make sure it's well thought out, and this is a quality I believe you need when you're running an office. Particularly an office of that size. We're certainly not the biggest office, but there are many facets that you have to consider when leading an office, and I think I possess those.
Excuse me, may I have a minute to reset my timing device?
I can't hear you.
She wants to reset her clock. She has to reset her timing device.
Okay. It's an echo. I wear hearing aids, guys.
Are we ready?
We're ready. Ready?
Okay.
You're okay, Mary. I'm taking you at your word here. Okay, last question. We'll start with candidate Carrier. Do you consider the position of DuPage County Recorder a full-time job?
I absolutely consider it full-time. In fact, I am in the office every day. I get to the office anywhere from 7:30 to 7:45, and I stay till 5. My office closes at 4:30, but I stay. I want to make sure that I'm there when my employees get there, and I want to make sure that everybody is able to close down and they're ready to go. If there's an issue, I want to be there to be able to assist them. Yes, most definitely, it is a full-time job, and one that I have taken with open arms, really. I was very honored and thrilled to be elected as your recorder, and I have embraced the position and will continue to embrace the position and take us forward.
Thank you. Candidate Chaplin?
Yes, I absolutely believe it's a full-time job. And while it's important to be in the office every day from 8 to 5, what you do at that time is also very important. There's not been one new initiative brought forward to that office in the last 3 years. Our county clerk came before the board to ask for $10 million for new voting equipment. Candace Adams, our circuit clerk, created an expungement court. There have been no new initiatives, and that is why I am running, because I believe that we need to have a robust community outreach program. I believe we should work with the DuPage Bar Association and let people know about the transfer upon death instrument so that they can save thousands of dollars in estates planning. So yes, it's a full-time job, and being there from 8 to 5 is important, but it's also what you do with that time while you're there. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to closing, and we'll start with candidate Chaplin. Closing, please.
Yes. So thank you so much to the League of Women Voters and to all of you for being here today. You've had a chance to listen to our positions on the questions that were asked. What sets me apart is my decades-long commitment to speaking truth to power and advocating on behalf of the people of DuPage County. Whether it was calling out the unsustainable financial practices on the DuPage Water Commission or fighting for our democratic values on the county board, my track record speaks for itself. I'm the only candidate sitting here that has won 2 elections prior to the blue wave. That is a testament to my leadership and my ability to connect with the community. I want to emphasize my dedication to integrity and the well-being of DuPage County. We will make the Recorder's Office into an office of excellence, transparency, efficiency, and accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Carrier, your closing, please.
Thank you. I have been in the Recorder's Office for 3 years, and in that time, as I said, I have done community outreach with 3 very successful veterans events and 2 successful outreach events for senior citizens. I am dedicated to the job. I use the utmost professionalism when it comes to running my office, and I will continue to do so. If you want somebody with the integrity it takes to run the office, I am that person. I have gone in and made some tough decisions. When I first took office, I said, I'm going to make decisions that some of you will like, and I will make decisions that some of you will not. And that I have stood true to that. I show excellent leadership abilities, and I have employed those leadership abilities as I have run the office. And I would humbly ask for your vote so I can continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this portion of our forum. I want to give the candidates for DuPage County Recorder a round of applause, please. Welcome to the candidate forum hosted by several leagues of women voters in DuPage County. My name is Patty Lackman, and I am from the League of Women Voters from Central Kane County. Therefore, I will not be casting a vote for anyone participating in this forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for the community. The format this afternoon is a forum and not a debate. Candidates candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for verifying the accuracy of the statements that candidates make in this forum. The League of Women Voters has invited the Democratic candidates for the office of 6th Congressional District today. You ask why there are no Republicans. It's because this is the contested race. The League only handles contested races. If there are no opponents, then we have to wait till the general election. The candidates today have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum, among them being that no voice, image, or other duplication of this forum may be used by any candidate's representative, or campaign in any campaign and advertising, Each candidate will have a 1-minute introductory statement, and the order will start alphabetically, and then we will move as we did before. And so everyone has an opportunity to be first, and everyone has an opportunity to be last. Questions will come from the League and from the audience. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to respond. We have our timers, Mary and Dave, who will hold up their paddles when people have 1 minute, 30 seconds, and 15 seconds, and then the stop sign, and people are expected to stop shortly thereafter. You may finish your thought, your sentence, but not go on to another paragraph. Audience questions will be written on index cards and reviewed by League question reviewers for appropriateness and clarity. Each question needs to be able to be asked and answered by each of the candidates. There's no zingers allowed. And the audience will refrain from clapping or commenting until the conclusion of the forum. We have been advised that there might be some disruption from the audience, and I am here to tell you I am a very seasoned forum moderator, and I will not hesitate to stop. I will give one warning, and then we stop, and then everyone is expected to leave. This is an opportunity for you, the constituents, to see how the candidates view positions on issues that are of interest to you. This is for your benefit, not mine. I don't vote in this district. So we ask for your performance to be limited to clapping at the end. The forum is being hosted by the League of Women Voters of several leagues in DuPage. So without further ado, I would like to have candidate Ahmad give her opening statement.
Hello, everyone, and thank you guys for having this. My name is Mahnur Ahmed, and today it is truly a privilege to be here. Because let's be honest, a person like me on a platform like this is quite unlikely. I was born in a small city in Pakistan where my mother spoke Balochi and my father spoke Farsi. But despite their different languages, they shared a dream, and that was the American dream. Growing up, I held on to that dream too. I believed in America's promise that anyone, even a small girl like me, with a funny name like mine, could find success here. And we are here today to celebrate that greatness, not because of the Willis Tower or Lake Michigan, but because of a Declaration of Independence that declared that all men, women have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I stand before you as a candidate for Congress, but also as a mother, an immigrant, and a champion for public health.
Thank you. Candidate Caston, your opening, please.
Thank you for having me. It's been my privilege to serve in this capacity as the congressman from the 6th District for the last 5 years, hoping to continue to serve in this role. As many of you know, I'm an engineer and an entrepreneur by background. I never set out to get into politics, but in 2018 I was motivated by, like a lot of people, by Trump. Because of the threat he posed to our democracy, the threat he posed to our safety, to women's rights, to this 235-year experiment, and frankly, I took offense at the fact that so many elected leaders weren't standing up to him. We won. We flipped the House. I'm proud to have run on climate and then served on the Climate Committee, where we wrote the legislation that became the single largest climate bill passed by any government in the history of the universe. By being a part of the Pro-Choice Caucus, where we passed the Women's Health Protection Act to codify Roe into law, which of course has not come up in the Senate and much more, but our work isn't done, because in those 5 years I've also participated in half the impeachments that have ever happened in our country, half the attacks on the Capitol. And I guess I would leave you all with Lincoln's exhortation that there's always been just enough to virtue in the nation to save it, sometimes none to spare, but always just enough. And I hope to remain in that virtuous majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hughes, your opening.
I'd like to say I'm running for Congress for 2 reasons. One, for the American people, and 2, to straighten out the government in Washington. They spend 8 hours a day raising money instead of working for the middle class. So you can go to my website, www.hughesforus.com. You'll see what I want to do. And I'd like to straighten out the abortion issue for women, because it's time we get out of women's lives in medical and health care and start doing the business of America, because we're losing a lot of different fronts. We have a war in Ukraine. We have a war in Israel. Our American soldiers are getting attacked, and we have to try some diplomatic means. And first of all, we don't want kids and children dying, because look at, we're in a women's league. We're supposed to protect our women, our children, and I'm running to do good, so thank you.
Thank you. First question, Candidate Caston. Please describe when you have worked with people of opposing views to get a project completed. What can be done to reduce the level of partisanship in Congress? You have 2 minutes.
So I'm always struck, because I spent more of my time in the private sector than I have in the public. Sorry about that. Is this microphone on? Hopefully? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pull it down like this.
Let's see. Well, how's that? All right. Hopefully you won't have to yell it again. I was starting to say that I always think about my time in the private sector, where you get credit in Congress for doing things that nobody would praise you for anywhere else. If I built a project, as an engineer with someone who disagreed with me on how to interpret the Second Amendment, I would never get my boss to come up and say, here's a cookie, congratulations. And I think you have to take that approach into Congress as well. I've worked, Tim Burchett, who you may know, you always see him on the TV. He's, one of the guys who led the effort to kick McCarthy out. His wife's a teacher. He and I wrote a bill together to increase the tax deductibility for teachers who spend their money on school supplies. You find these areas to collaborate where you can. One of the first bills that I passed in Congress was the Clean Industrial Technology Act, to put $500 million into the deployment of technologies that would decarbonize hard-to-decarbonize industries. How do you make steel without metallurgical coke? How do you make fertilizer without natural gas? We need those technologies. We need to deploy them. We passed that bill out of the Science Committee on a bipartisan basis. It got worked into the omnibus funding bill and was signed into law by Donald Trump. We did it because it was a good thing, and you find those common interests. Now, having said all of that, I would say that bipartisanship is not an innate virtue. It is a path, it is not a goal. And I think as you set out and you ask folks, what are the priorities you're going to fight for, you should know that they'll fight for that, whether it's partisan or bipartisan, but they'll continue to fight for it. Because if we just make concessions in the name of bipartisanship, that's not success. So measure us by what we fight for, measure us by what we get passed, and if it gets passed on a bipartisan basis or a partisan basis, that's just the path, but make it durable, because we're here to change people's lives and do the right thing, not to get judged by who we play nicely with.
Thank you. Candidate Hughes.
Well, bipartisan's a different way of doing things around here. Washington, they fight too much. They don't work bipartisan. So first of all, it's permanent interest, not a permanent friends. That's the first thing you got to realize. The interest. If 2 people have the same interest, we'll get something passed. You need 217 congressmen to pass a bill or introduce a bill to Congress in order to get on the floor. Bipartisan, if I blast Caston and Caston blasts me, we can't work together. And that's the problem we have with Republicans and Democrats. I hate you, you hate me, let's get nothing done for the middle class. It's time to work together. It's not a Democrat party, it's not a Republican party, it's America. And that's what the middle class wants. America working together for the benefit of the middle class. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmad, same question.
I think first and foremost, we have to realize that we all are people and we want the same thing. You know, we're all at the end want our families to be happy. We all want to build our communities, and we all have that one true nature as humans. And when it comes to, you know, talking about Trump and talking about Biden and taking sides and saying that we've turned this into blue, we're pitting each other against each other, and that is not who we are. At the end of the day, we are a unity. At the end of the day, we are the same income. We are the same economy. At the end of the day, we are the same country. And we can't lose sight of that. We have to realize that. And I think if you bring that to any person, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Green Party, or whatever they might be, if you just humanize the situation, you realize that, yes, it is all about just people.
Thank you. Starting with candidate Hughes, if elected, what policies and legislative initiatives will be your top priority?
Okay, first priority, raise Social Security $500 a month for senior citizens. They haven't been raised in 30 years. They either eat food, medicine, or dog food, and that's not acceptable for Chuck Hughes. Second of all, abortion issues dies the first day in office. I'm going to get everyone together that says they want women to have health care and they believe in women to pass a bill, no more getting in women's health care. Leave women to decide between God and themselves if they want to have an abortion or not, because we have bigger issues. Third of all, we fix the economy by working together and making America strong again. Thank you.
Candidate Ahmad, if elected, what policies and legislative initiatives will be your top priority?
To codify Roe v. Wade. I think that first and foremost, it is a lived experience for me. Being a mother and going through pregnancy and having seen that and lived through those issues, I know what it is to stand up for women and to see that as not just a political chip, but as something to have autonomy over our own bodies. That is first and foremost the number one issue that I would go after. And the second issue is obviously the current issue of calling for a ceasefire. I think it is extremely important that we make it so that we are expressing ourselves as humans and not animals who are going after and attacking things. That's it.
Thank you. Candidate Caston.
Well, it would be off-brand if I didn't talk about climate. That's the reason I ran for Congress and why I've continued to serve here. When we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, we knew that the single biggest piece pacing the realization of all that deployment is bottlenecks in the transmission grid. So myself and Congressman Mike Levin wrote a bill which has been endorsed by the whole ideological breadth of the Democratic Party, and our goal is to make that essentially the Democratic permitting reform bill so that we can go and make sure that as you put solar panels on your roof, as you get electric cars in your driveways, you electrify your home, you can continue to access affordable energy. On the Financial Services Committee, I've also been working and continue to work on trying to address the financial crisis that is caused by climate. We have major insurers pulling out of Florida, pulling out of Louisiana, pulling out of California, that are putting risks onto property owners and banks that are going to be massively disruptive in our economy, and we're pushing to get those done. I'm 100% pro-choice. I co-sponsored the Women's Health Protection Act to codify Roe into law. We'll continue to fight for it, but there is a bigger underlying issue. We tell a story that our government was designed to represent the will of the people. The truth is our founders designed a government where only old white men could vote. The Emancipation Proclamation was unconstitutional. We didn't directly elect senators. And we still live in a world where things that are overwhelmingly popular cannot come up for votes in the Senate. The Women's Health Protection Act has never come up for a vote. I led my colleagues in a letter, 2 letters, to Chuck Schumer, pushing for him to get rid of the filibuster, because if 167 million women lost their rights, we should not spend our time protecting the rights of 40 U.S. senators. We've also led legislation to reform the Supreme Court, to expand the Senate, to create at-large senators so that there's actually a block of senators who are expected to represent the will of the people rather than the will of the states, and to expand the House to rectify the gaps in the Electoral College. Because if the popular vote winner always won elections, we'd be in a very different place with President Hillary Clinton, President Al Gore, and the Supreme Court justices they would have appointed. So if we don't double down and embrace democracy, we can't complain that democracy isn't doing what the people want.
Thank you. Next question will start with candidate Ahmad. What, if any, steps should be taken to curb gun violence in our country?
I think when it comes to gun violence, it's not about tearing apart the Second Amendment. It's about, what we did when cars first came out. When cars first came out, we added seat belts. We told manufacturers that we need to get airbags and seat belts, and we told the state that you need certain type of plates, and these are the regulations that we need to advocate for. We're not trying to take anyone's rights or anyone's dismantle the Second Amendment. We're just trying to make it so we can still use what we have, but in a way where it is safe for the entire society.
Candidate Caston?
So part of this goes back to my last answer. Assault weapons bans, universal background checks, the anti-trafficker rules that I've introduced with Congresswoman Kelly to prevent guns from Indiana from flooding Illinois. Those were all really, really popular. None of them come up for a vote in the Senate because of the filibuster. We have to get rid of the filibuster. But the second piece is I want to, I guess, disagree slightly with the prior answer. Define the Second Amendment. If we're going to protect the Second Amendment, define it. Because prior to the Heller decision, we believed that when our founders said that part about the well-regulated militia actually mattered, and we believed that when our founders said that Congress has the right to create militias for the purpose of protecting our laws, protecting against domestic insurrections, protecting our borders, and that those militias would be governed by the commander-in-chief, that those were the people who could own guns. And Justice Scalia, in the Heller case, said the first 13 words of the Second Amendment are purely prefatory. So what's happened since then? We've had an explosion of guns. We've had an explosion of assault rifles. We have had people attack the Capitol while I was working there, claiming to be a member of a militia. Look, here's the truth. The more guns you have in your community, the more likely you are to get shot. And by the way, the most likely person to shoot you is yourself, because the highest rate of gun death in the United States is by suicide. We don't have a higher rate of mental health than any other country. We just have made it easy for a bad day to be your last day. And so if we don't have a serious conversation about going back to the Second Amendment that our founders intended, not the one that's been interpreted by this court, and having a serious conversation about what do you do when you live in a country that has more guns per capita than any other country in the world, where if we took away half the guns tomorrow, we would still have more guns per capita than any other country in the world. Now, that's not very popular. But either we want people to get shot or we're going to do something about the underlying causes.
Thank you. Candidate Hughes, same question.
Well, we first have to start with mental illness. Our government took away our mental health facilities. Look at how developmental in the 6th District, nothing Caston did, by the way, I'm not blaming them, is they took away the mental health facilities. Now you take away that, you take away Lincoln, Dwight, all these mental health facilities, and you have people in society that are not healthy enough to have a gun. Guns don't shoot themselves. It's people that use guns to shoot others. So what we need to do is strengthen our FOID card, strengthen our background check. And what happened in Highland Park, someone was mentally ill and they knew about it, but nobody addressed it with the police or the government. And this guy got away and shot everybody on 4th of July. So what we need to do is strengthen mental health, strengthen our background checks, and we have to hold gun owners accountable and the people that sell guns out of state. And that's the first thing Washington hasn't done. They haven't addressed mental health. And maybe Caston should go back to Congress and say, let's start with mental health because we closed down all the facilities. And maybe that's the problem, that people are getting shot. The wrong people have guns. And I'm sorry if anybody got killed, but it's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Starting with candidate Caston. What policies will you pursue to address social and racial justice in our country?
One of the first bills that I co-sponsored when I got in was what had been John Conyers' bill to initiate a study on reparations. Not hugely popular with a not very ethnically diverse population in the 6th District. But I think we have to confront our original sin, right? One of my proudest moments on the floor in my first term was there was a bill that was being debated to add a whole series of fentanyl derivatives to the list of drugs that would be classified as Schedule I narcotics so that the DEA could go after them. And Lauren Underwood and I, who I got elected with, we walked on the floor together, and she said, "Where are you on this bill?" And I said, "As far as I can tell, the only thing that criminalizing drug use does is put more black and brown people in jail. It has never led to a reduction in drug use in our country. Treatment, that helps." And so Lauren and I said, we're going to vote against this. We got surrounded by Steny Hoyer, Jim Clyburn. They said, this is a bad vote for you to take as a freshman member of Congress in a vulnerable seat who just flipped these seats. You do not want the incoming. And I said, can you promise me that we will do criminal justice reform as a follow-on to this vote? And they said, we can't guarantee that. I said, okay, then I'm voting against this. Lauren and I voted no, and at the end of that, Speaker, or at the time, Whip Clyburn's staff came down and said, we want to thank you for standing up. And there was another beautiful moment as we were going in to vote. Brad Schneider and Bill Foster came up to us and said, hey, Illinois strong, and they voted no as well. The headline in the paper the next day, instead of saying, Kasten and Underwood take risky vote, the headline said, the Illinois delegation votes against this. And so what can you do? You can use your voice, you can use your action, you can lean into the issues that are hard, you can acknowledge that there are these uncomfortable truths in our history and elevate the conversation. We got a long way to go, and that shouldn't count as tremendous courage, but I think it's an important thing to do, and it does make a difference.
Thank you. Candidate Hughes, what policies will you pursue to address social and racial justice in our country?
First of all, we have to look at our past to learn the future and see what we did wrong and what we did right and go from there. First of all, we have to take our immigration system and fix it. We have an open border, and what we need to do is we have to get control of the border, let the right immigrants in, keep the terrorists out. We have to train the immigrants that seek asylum so that we can bring them to the forefront and make America better. America was all invented from immigrants. We're all immigrants in this room. And we have to remember, just because I've been here 50 years, there's other immigrants that want the American dream. We should allow them that American dream as long as they follow our rules and laws. And so what we need to do is show by example. First of all, let's talk about reparations. African Americans have been wanting reparations for a long time. Biden and Kamala Harris promised them last election reparations. As I knock on doors and African Americans in the 6th District say they're not voting for Biden and Kamala because they lied the last election for reparations. When you promise a group of people something, you should keep your word. If you're not going to keep your word, don't promise them something. I won't promise anything I can't deliver. When you talk about immigration laws or you have to get a group of congressmen together that want the same idea to get it on the floor. I would need 218 congressmen to agree with me just to put it on the floor. Kasten will explain that to you. You can't just say something and get it done. You have to actually work across party lines, and that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmad.
I think that issue, being an immigrant myself and coming from a diverse background and having that background, I deeply personally, it's a personal issue. And I've already made that commitment, not taking money from corporate and being a 100% people-funded campaign. It shows my loyalty lies to the people, that I do not want any kind of, I want to be committed just to the people of the districts and have those relations with each and every community that's there. That means being accessible to the community, having the town halls, having the meet and greets, and seeing what is it that the people are looking for in their representative.
Thank you. You touched on this a little bit in a previous question, so we'll start with candidate Hughes. Do you feel the migrant situation is being handled appropriately by the federal government?
No. First of all, they should do fingerprints at the border to see who's coming in. They should do a medical check to see if they got tuberculosis, syphilis, any other disease that we solved 30, 40 years ago. You have babies dying in shelters, you have people sick, and we're just hurting our own health infrastructure in America because we're spending $500 million for these people when we could have checked them at the border. And all our money that we're spending for immigrants, that with an open border, we could be spending for the American people. We could fix health care for the American people, Social Security, Medicare. You want Medicare for all, you can't have it because the funds will dry up. Social Security for the immigrants, give them all of it. We won't have no Social Security for seniors. We have to be realistic. If you want an immigration system, strengthen the border, let the good ones in that follow the rules, check for safety, make sure they're not criminals or terrorists. We've had women that have been raped a couple days ago from migrants. We've had women got killed a couple days ago from migrants. We got to all get together and say, listen, we secure the border, but let immigrants in, but the right way.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmad.
I think the migrant issue is something that is complex and doesn't have just one simple answer. And that it is essential for us to understand that there is a root cause of these migration issues. And to have a more just and equitable system, we have to look at the whole picture and everyone that is involved. Simply focusing on border security without understanding and addressing the long-term goals here is very, very short-sighted. We need to see how we can fix this long-term. What is it that is causing these issues in the first place? And once we address those, everything else will fall in place.
Thank you. Candidate Caston.
So we have a surge in people who are wanting to come to our country, record level surges. The funding that we provide both to screen out the bad people, if you will, and to make sure that the good people are processed and can be constructive parts of our society, whether through asylum courts, the medical care that Mr. Hughes was talking about, those are all designed and funded for yesterday's immigration levels. They're not suited for today's levels. We need to be more nimble. We need to address that. We have to not politicize it, and unfortunately this is a political football. What's happened of late in Chicago is that if we all think of ourselves as Americans, then the burden on our border states should be shared by other states. It's appropriate to ask how we can help, and I've been grateful that folks in Chicago, folks in this community have stepped up to make sure that we can provide those services. Governor Abbott in Texas is not working constructively with anyone in Chicago. He's putting people on buses, sending them up here, not alerting people in Chicago, and then all of a sudden we're leaving the Chicagoland area responsible for figuring out how to process this. So we've been pushing to do everything we can with Governor Pritzker, with the White House, to get some notification when these people are coming, to make sure that they are treated humanely when they're here, to make sure that we can get these people into the workforce, because they're here, they want to work. And the people who are coming here are not people who are quote unquote illegal. They're people who are requesting asylum in many cases. They're waiting to have their court cases cleared out. They want to contribute. The last thing I just want to add, I'd highly recommend a CBO report, the Congressional Budget Office report that came out last week, that showed that net immigration to the United States last year net immigration was twice what was expected. And the reason why we have this magical economy that is somehow creating growing employment, growing GDP, and inflation is falling is because the workforce is growing so quickly. So given the choice between being a country people want to leave and a country people want to come to and contribute, we should count our lucky stars that we're in the latter camp.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmad, where do you stand on universal health care and why?
So the reason why I even thought about running for office was because of universal health care. I personally have fought battles of trying to get accessible health care when I was pregnant and had a severe condition. in which in the Chicagoland area, which by the way is one of the largest medical districts, I had an issue trying to do that. And I took my son the other day for a vaccine, and they refused to give it to him because they didn't know how they were going to get reimbursed for it. It is crazy to think that we live in a world where a child is denied care, a vaccine, that a mother goes to a clinic and they say, no, sorry, we can't be reimburse you for this. I firsthand have seen people's legs be amputated because they did not have a primary care physician. And those are just, and they will never be able to walk again. And those are just some of the things that we see in our healthcare system. If we have a single payer option and we negotiate drug prices, we can fix the situation. Right now, every patient is being squeezed for every penny, and all the employees are being worked till they hit burnout. We need a system that puts people first and not profit. And we can do that by eliminating all these insurance companies and all the paperwork and all the cost and just having a single payer option.
Thank you. Candidate Caston.
So 100% support universal health care. I've fought for it since getting in. Disagree that single payer is the way to get there. And you know, let's talk about Medicare's right to negotiate prices. It is obscene that the George Bush administration, the second George Bush administration, took away the right for Medicare to negotiate prices. You have to hate capitalism to decide that you shouldn't be able to negotiate prices. Why'd they take it away? Because of massive lobbying campaigns. If you make Medicare bigger, it doesn't reduce the size of the lobbyists. The way we keep discipline, you know, I sort of liken it to education. You have choice in education, and if you live in a town where your school board has decided that you shouldn't learn about evolution or you shouldn't learn about the 1619 project, you're going to really regret that you don't have choice. But those are subject to lobbyists. And so the countries that have given universal health care that have still provided choice, places like Switzerland, places like Germany, have gotten better outcomes and have this built-in protection in the system, because folks who don't like the option provided by one provider can move to another provider, and that in turn keeps all the providers disciplined. And we've pushed to expand that. We did last term restore the right for Medicare, actually compelled Medicare to negotiate for the top 10 most expensive drugs in the country. We would continue to expand that, obviously, if we take the majority back. We still need to make sure that Medicare covers things like hearing and vision. That's not covered in there. For folks who are on Medicare, you've probably got a lot of complaints that it doesn't cover all the things that your Blue Cross Blue Shield might. We need to make sure that those options are available to everybody regardless of how it pays. And we've also expanded the ACA. There's 20 million Americans who have health insurance now that did not have health insurance prior to those changes that we passed in the last term. I think just in this district, there's something like 40,000 people who have health insurance that didn't have it prior to 2 years ago. That's not everybody. It's not enough. But directionally, that's what we've been fighting for since we're going, and directionally, we've been succeeding.
Thank you. Candidate Hughes.
I think the more insurance we have, the better we are. I think that universal is a great thing because not everyone is in a box. This person might have this health issue, this one might have that. We need to expand healthcare, ACA, we need to fix Medicare, we need to give people more options, because the problem is this Medicare Advantage, Congressman Caston, the seniors are telling me that they're cheating the seniors because they don't allow them to have certain surgeries or certain Medicare or certain this, and they're getting killed with phone calls. The problem is you don't supposed to deny Americans health insurance. You're supposed to keep them alive. Our country's constitution always said, the health industry says you keep everybody alive at all costs. You don't let them die. So what we need to do is we need to have DC Health Link like the congressmen have, that they have so many choices. AOC, the congresswoman out of New York, said, I don't know what to do. I got so many choices. Well, that's what Americans should have. So many choices that they can deny what they want, not beg for what they need. And as congressman, I'll try to change the health care to give the people better. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Caston. What, if anything, do you believe the federal government should do to limit the impact of global climate change?
I only get 2 minutes.
Sorry.
So here's the biggest underlying problem that has been sort of core to what I've been, modestly successful in persuading my colleagues, is that the United States has never had an energy policy that focused on energy consumers. It's always had an energy policy that focused on energy producers. We provide massive tax breaks to people who dig holes in the ground, who drill oil, who run pipelines. The subsidies we give to the fossil fuel sector every year are about 20 times the total subsidies in the Inflation Reduction Act to clean energy. If you want a level playing field, I'll give you a level playing field. Get rid of all those fossil fuel subsidies, and all of a sudden you'll unleash a tremendous amount of market-driven consumer pull. If we had a consumer-driven energy policy, what I know for certain is that everybody likes cheap energy. Ask yourself whether anybody with a solar panel wakes up in the morning and says, I wonder if I should run my power plant today. Let me check what the fuel cost is. Does anybody who have an electric car in their driveway give a damn what the price of gasoline is? Right? Does anybody with an efficient home think, well, the price of gas is low, I should probably rip out those efficient windows? Do a consumer-focused energy policy, and people get cheap energy, and you also massively reduce the amount of energy we use. I'll give you just a crazy number. The United States generates about $200 of GDP for every million BTUs of primary energy we use. That is about half of what Britain generates and a third of what Switzerland generates. They have access to the same technologies. They have access to the same people, the same talent, maybe not even as good as we have here. If we got to their level, we could cut our energy use by a half or a third without sacrificing any quality of living, or we could double, triple our standard of living with the same amount of energy use. But in order to do that, we have to put consumers first and not kowtow to the interests of producers, which starts with the tax code and goes on from there. And with another 30 minutes, I'll provide more detail.
We are stopping the forum.
Hi, my name is Jan Dorner.
And I'm Dorothy McGuire. We're co-presidents of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst.
We tried to have an hour-long forum, candidate forum for the Democratic candidates for Congressional District 6. We were able to get through about 30 minutes until there was a disruption with the audience. Our moderator, Patty Lackman, tried to give a warning. It was ignored, and she ended the forum. We're sorry that we could not get more questions answered, but we hope that you enjoy and will use what has been recorded. Thank you.
We would like to say that there was a warning issued at the beginning of the congressional delegates when they got up on the platform here, to say that if there was a disruption, we would give a warning and then it would be canceled. So we did as we said, and that's where it ended.